everybody. This is Bob Iacchino, along with Mike Arnold from Pat Trading Partners, doing our week in review and our weekly preview of the FX markets for the week of February 12th, starting on Sunday, February 12th. Let me go over some of the data, the announcements we've got coming out this week, starting on the 12th. Sunday evening, we have Japan's gross domestic product. That'll be released. And we've got new yuan loans coming out of China. So that'll be highly watched. Monday, you've got Chinese Consumer Price Index. Okay, you've got the year over year, the consumer and the producer price index being released at the same time. Those will be 5:30 p.m. Monday evening. Tuesday, a larger day, we've got Germany's gross domestic product. We've got the Italian gross domestic product. We've got the UK's consumer price index and the core consumer price index. We've also got Germany's ZEW survey, which is a survey of economic sentiment. On Wednesday, some of the big guns come out. US consumer price index, along with the ex-food and energy version of the CPI. We've got retail sales coming out in the US. Those are all 7:30 in the morning on Wednesday. And then we've got Fed Chair Janet Yellen delivering her semi-annual testimony to a House panel. Expect that to produce a lot of quotes and there'll probably be some aggressive questioning with the new Congress. We've also got Australia's employment change and unemployment rate. That's Wednesday, the 15th. That again will be about 6:30 in the evening. Thursday, pretty quiet day, but we do have the G20 finance ministers meeting. That begins on Thursday and continues on Friday. No other scheduled data. Now, during the week, obviously, we're still going to see a lot of tweets. You know what I'm talking about, and we're going to see some comments about tax cuts in the U.S. That conversation is going to start to heat up. So pay very close attention to that. Notice if it's going to be executive order or if it's going to be actual policy and an actual plan for policy, something that could potentially get passed. So those discussions are going to continue in earnest. Let me turn it over to Mike to let you know what he's seeing in terms of price action for the week.
Okay, thanks, Bob. So here we have the Euro US dollar. Just going to enter another trend line here. We have now a concept we call cascading trend lines, which are going to provide a lot of resistance. So Friday, we closed right on a significant level, pretty much in our defining point to this trend line. We reached down to our next two significant levels and a target to the downside. Really looks a lot of cases like the currencies are really carving out a range to figure out where their next major move is going to be. If we rally on Sunday night and Monday morning, look for resistance from this prior trend line that was broken. Getting higher than that, we have another descending trend line and coming in right around the 106.95 area. A lot of resistance. And then if we get above there, 107.15 level. But you can see how above there's lots of areas to resistance. That's also true for below. We have lots of key areas of support. The levels to the downside, if we head lower, we're going to be looking for 106.20, 106 even, followed by 105.85 levels on the downside. We'll have to update you if we break below that. So that's about it. Remember, on the weekly, we've sort of defined this end. So if we remain inside this range, we're stuck in a lot of support. We really have to get below this 106 level before we can get into this clear path move. And if we do follow that clear path move, the major support zone, the bottom of it would be about 105.20 also. Another key level to keep in mind. The pound US dollar. Updated trend lines on here. The double, which is not triggered yet, is still in play. It is still valid. If it becomes invalid, we will let you know, or if it triggers. If we get a move below, and especially a close below 124.20 level and the trend line, watch for a potential move down to 123.47. If we get a close below this low of the double, which is 124.12, then we will trigger with the eventual price targets being down around the 121.51 level. If we rally back up, watch for major resistance around the 125.72, which comes in slightly below this defining point. That's going to be major resistance. If we get above there, you can watch for a possible run back up to this other trend line. Yen rallied up tested this trend line, closed down back below it, and stayed below the 21. On a move above this trend line again, watch for the potential retest of the 114.24 level, followed by the 114.76 level to the upside. To the downside, we're watching for a retest around the 112.73 level, and then support from this rising trend line, and then prior support from this major significant level at 111.64. So those are the key things you should be watching in the yen. Swissy ran up, reacted at the defining point to the trend line. If we get back up above the 50 next week, watch for us to target the 100.80 level. That's our next target to the upside. We do not have a trend line redraw yet on this. To the downside, you have key support at the 100.1 level. Then we're looking for support from the 99.70 level and this rising trend line. We also have the moving averages converging, which should provide some support in that area. Aussie on the weekly. We're watching for a close above the 76.76 level. Nearly closed right on it, did not close above it. So that did not trigger a horizontal channel breakout trade that we were watching for. We came back to retest this trend line as support. We have the rising rotation zone now coming in. On a daily basis, watch for, we're coming in, we tested the rising rotation zone. We've moved back up. On a move continued higher, watch for us to retest the 77.20 level higher, and then the 77.85 level. And that's going to be on a daily basis. Key support's also going to come in at this trend line and the rising 21. Those are the key levels on there. CAD, there's not really anything to update. We have a lot of support. We noticed how it broke out of this bear flag, and there's no real trade we can look for yet. So you have major overhead resistance around last week's high, 132.12, and support right around the prior week's low of 129.69. If you get below there, there's a lot of areas of support in here, so we'll update that as need be. That's all I have for you, Bob. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Mike. Notice all of the potential breakouts we've got. And when you relate that to some of the data we have, there's a lot of Chinese data coming out. That Chinese data will not only affect currencies directly, but will also affect commodities, which affects the dollar. Also, if you see crude oil rising, continuing to rise and breaking out, that will provide a little bit of a headwind to any more dollar rallies because crude oil and dollar react inversely. And then you've also got a couple of, Mike spent some time on the Australian dollar, and you've got the Australian dollar rate decision and their unemployment change. So keep an eye on that stuff, and we will talk to you guys in the next Path Chat. Money Path Podcast, a new one is out. Type in the Money Path Podcast into your iTunes search bar or get it at pathtradingpartners.com, and also send us an email at support@pathtradingpartners.com. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.